Hey everybody, One Shot Ray here. Just wanted to get with you again. I'm about to go on another EV trip to El Paso from Fort Worth, Texas. And on this trip, I'd just like to talk a little bit more about charging and what you can expect. I wanted you to see some things that I have going on right now to charge at home, and then we'll talk more about DC fast charging and things like that as we go on this trip. So let's take a look at this. So my car has a J1772 connector in it. I know that doesn't matter to you, but it's just the plug type that goes in to charge it up. And I have a charger, so it comes off of a 220 plug and brings me in 40 amps of power so that I can charge way faster than I plug in the 110 volt outlet. And so I'll see you on the road. Well, we're here in Eastland, Texas. We're already on the charger. You can see where we are right now as far as percentage charge, 50%. Haven't been on it that long. If you come over here to the charger, you can see that I've been on it, 7 minutes, and I'm getting 70 kilowatts right now. This car is capable of 125 kilowatts, so it slows down as it gets more full. So the difference here between DC fast charging that I'm doing now and the AC charging at home is I'm able to charge at 40 amps at home, and so I get about pushing 30 miles of range per hour of charge. But here on DC fast charging, I can get as much as 6 miles per minute. We're standing here at the Flying J near Abilene, Texas. This is a new installation of EV charging. I'll be using this someday down the road. Right now I'm not using it. Right now they're charging 69 cents per kilowatt hour. We're gonna spend the night here in Sweetwater and head on to El Paso tomorrow. So, if you're looking at an EV, think about it. If you're in an apartment or you're parking on the street, may not be the best choice for you. But I tell you what is a good one is a hybrid. And if you're worried about range and you have a place to plug in, then you can get a plug-in hybrid, and that way you can plug it in to use the battery most of the time when you're around town. But when you go on a trip, you can use gas, so it makes it a lot nicer if that's the direction you're going. I've never had a problem. I've always been able to charge, and I've had my car for 2 years and made a lot of long trips. So let me know if there's anything that you're wanting to know. If you have any questions about this, or if you'd like to give me some feedback about it, I'd love to hear it. the Midland Walmart, and our car is charging up a little bit slower this morning since it was a little chillier this morning. No big deal, probably added 10 minutes to our charging time. About to head out on our next leg of the trip. Well, I didn't say anything on our last stop. We were stopped at Electrify America in Paso, Texas, and it's at a Sonic drive-in. So sometimes we eat there. We didn't this time. But I was a little busy, so I didn't get any video there. I have some new tires on this car. They're the Michelin CrossClimate2. They're not EV tires, but I wanted to get some tires that were more beefy, that was going to last a longer time. I had to pay a lot of money for them, but they seem to be great. Typically, they're not too noisy. But on the highway, I've noticed they've been a little bit noisier on certain surfaces. But I'm really pleased with them for other reasons. They seem to be doing really well as far as mileage on my car. So I feel like I'm not spending too much kilowatt hours to go down to on each mile. So we're doing okay there. I'll give you some more numbers on that at the end of this trip. But just want to let you know what we're doing, what I was thinking. Oh, it got quiet here. I got on a better road. So anyway, we'll talk more later. It's been a few weeks since our trip now, and I've put together some statistics for several different trips that I've made to El Paso from Fort Worth, and I wanted to talk about some of the things that are involved statistically. So as you see right here, we have an extreme cold weather event on our first trip in 2022. And then another in 23 and 24, which were pretty average winter time trips. And you'll see our first, second, third, fourth, and fifth stops here. Eastland is our first one right here. We're going to look at the end state of charge of each charging session. That's probably not as important of a column, but we may talk about it in a minute. And then the kilowatt hours delivered, that might be more important. And then the maximum speed of kilowatts. And the same thing for each of the other trips here. So we'll talk about that in just a second. And then also the charging time. So it does take a different amount of times to charge based on what your needs are and based on what the temperature of the battery is. So things like that. So we're going to talk about how that comes together. And then finally, we're going to look at the comparison of a couple other trips that were made in the summer. So let's get started on this. So on this first trip in 2022, you'll see that I'm going to look at the kilowatt hours delivered first of all. So we have 49 kilowatt hours delivered. The other trip in 23, 45, and in 24, 44. So you'll notice I got a little bit more kilowatt hours delivered on that coldest trip a couple of years ago. And the reason for that is I just didn't trust how far I was going to be able to go. So I would charge a little bit extra. And that also worked out to time. So we'll talk about that in a second. So on the average winter, it was 55 degrees starting time. 45 kilowatts were delivered. And then over here at 41 degrees, it was 44 kilowatts delivered. So, and then the maximum speed that it would deliver the power, my car gets 125 kilowatts per hour, 125 kilowatts, sorry. And that can change depending on the unit that's charging me, also the temperature of the battery and how full the battery is. So a number of things can make a difference there. So my average maximum speed for the cold weather trip was 100 kilowatts compared to 116 and 103. So these are kind of weird numbers because there are so many variables there that it might not make sense. So the most important thing right there is the kilowatt hours delivered. Let's look down at the row below that. That might tell us a little bit more. It was really cold on this first trip. As a matter of fact, the starting of the day was around 10 degrees, and later in the day, it was much warmer, and I'm talking about in the 40s. So it made a big difference. And then on these other two trips, they were starting out at 55 degrees and 41 degrees respectively. But look at the time it took to charge. So on a warmer day, it took 34 minutes on average for each charging stop. On the next warmer day, 36 minutes. And then on the next cooler day. And then on the coldest day, it took 42 minutes to charge. Now, these are pretty slow charging times, but you can see how the temperature can make a big difference. And if we look down here below, we'll see how that really shakes out. I have two other trips that I don't have compared overall other than the temperature and how long we were charging. So at 80 degrees and 90 degrees, we have 31 minutes and 30 minutes. Now, it would probably even take less. I know it would take less because I've done some other trips before where I was very comfortable with where I was going and how much I needed to charge, because with an EV, all you need is enough charge to get to the next charging stop. You don't have to think about a long range. Now, if I had a more expensive car that had a much higher range and I could skip some charging stops, which is definitely possible, but you're going to pay a lot of money for that ability, then those you wouldn't have as many charging stops, and they may take longer because you're going to use more battery, and so you'll have to charge it up to a greater extent. So there's a give and take there. So you can see how these temperature effects have made a difference on some of my travels here. Now, I also wanted to talk about the CrossClimate2 tires that I put on, and that was for this last trip, December of 2024. And these numbers actually shake out pretty well. Some things are actually pretty even compared to the other trips, so I'm really pleased about that, because the CrossClimate2 tires by Michelin are not necessarily designed to be EV tires. EV tires are best for being quieter and for saving that energy on long trips, so you'll get more distance out of them. Not necessarily more longevity, because the chemicals that they use to create those tires might wear quicker. So, and mine did. Mine wore pretty quickly, but they were you know, the OEM tires, and they weren't that great. So I'm very pleased with the CrossClimate2s, and I thought I got great efficiency. The sound was pretty darn good. I didn't see any issue with the sound, for me anyway. So some people may complain about that, but I didn't think there was enough of a difference. Thanks again for watching.